T-minus 17 seconds and counting. 15, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, remaining start, 2, 1, booster ignition, and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery, returning to the space station, paving the way for future missions beyond.
Separation confirmed. Guidance now converging. Discovery's onboard computers commanding the main engine nozzles to swivel, aiming the shuttle for its precise target in space for main engine cutoff.
Welcome to AMC and ADD, where we buy, hold, and screw the hedgie. Today is a little bit of a presentation. I'm putting on a live stream for AMC's Breakout the Vote. We need to talk about the proposals, and I've got some information that I want to help share to the community. So if you're joining this, if you're joining the channel today for the first time, I'm just going to kind of give you a little brief summary of what I do here. And basically, it's that I stream from 6 o'clock Central Standard Time until 3 p.m. Monday through Friday. I do miss days on rare occasions, but I do. You know, family things come up and I got to do stuff. But for the most part, I'm here for you guys. If you ever want to come for Ortex data, Fintel data, I have subscriptions to both. I have level 2 streaming all the time on here. You know, feel free to come by, ask questions, and you know, I'm all about learning. So maybe we can learn something together. And but for the most part, let's just experience this all together. So. Part of the things that you see on my channel, some of these price tally predictions that you're seeing on here. I forgot to put up my picture. Here I am. I forgot to put up the price prediction tallies on there. 3 of us like to kind of do price predictions every day. It means nothing other than the idea that we're just trying to guess. And you can see we've missed 8 times over the last 3 weeks. So we definitely do miss, and there are times there. Also, I had an interview, a great interview with True Demon last week, and he had some really important DD, and you'll see underneath the price prediction tallies, you'll see the True Demon MOAS trigger indicators, where we have actual data versus target data that he wants to see, that he thinks those are key indicators that are going to lead towards us having a huge MOAS, or even maybe just a gamma squeeze that leads into the MOAS. So, you know, watch the interview that we had last Friday, just plugging that out there, because I think it's hugely important into understanding what's happening with the failure to delivers and the parabolic price action that we've been seeing on our stock. So, on to the good stuff. We need to talk about the proposals. The vote is upcoming. This is breaking out the vote and talking about all these proposals. My main objective, and I'm basically going to be covering everything that you saw on the Reddit post, which I did post this to Reddit. I'm just going to go ahead and put it over here real quickly, just so you can see. Now I'm going to get rid of the tally marks for the rest of the day today, because we don't need to have that covering up everything. And I will have the price kind of going, the price going in the background, and you know, we can kind of check up on the price as we go. But I will just be reading off of that mainly, and then if anybody has any questions whatsoever, go ahead and feel free to ask those questions, because I'm all about trying to see if we can all kind of figure things out together. So my objective, more than anything, I cannot stress enough that the voting is the most critical thing that we do. Out of everything that I say today, the most important thing is to vote. Find out how you can do that. Now, I'll talk about that at the end of the video. If your simple reason for being here today is to find out how do I vote, you don't even know how to vote, I'm going to cover that at the very end. So just skip to the very end of the video, and I'm going to cover that. There's going to maybe the last 5 minutes. There will be plenty of section in there where there's plenty of information for you to find out how you can vote. And you know, just do that. That's so important. But do remember that the following information are facts mixed with my opinions on the voting. Okay, so you need to, you know, take it with a grain of salt. I may have opinions that differ from yours, and that's okay. It's okay for me to have a differing opinion than you. The important part is the facts. If you understand the facts, and I'll separate the difference between the facts and my opinions. If you hear the facts, this may help you to understand what it is that you're voting on. So we'll look at those. And it's more than just the facts that were in the proxy. I go into depth on some of these. What you need to do is you need to vote what you think is best for AMC. Okay? Above and beyond, vote and do what you think is best for AMC. So this is not financial advice. This is just us talking. So let's get into it. Proposal 1, nullified. Okay, originally Proposal 1 was to approve an amendment to our third amended and restated certificate of incorporation to increase the total number of shares of Class A common stock, par value 0.01 per share. The company shall have the authority to issue 25 million shares to a total of 549,173,073 shares of Class A common stock effective January 1st, 2022. That was nullified. They decided they were going to take this out. Now, just today I went and voted, and I went to go look because I wanted to make sure that when I ran through my voting that you know, we would all kind of be on the same page. And I did notice that through my broker, Fidelity, they still have the option to vote for, against it, and abstain. I put in a vote. You know, vote how you will on that. It's $25 million added. You know, if your broker allows you to vote on it still, put one in there. You know, why not? If it's going to give you the option, you might as well. Moving on to Proposal 2. Oh, and by the way, I did my voting online. And I'll get to at the very end of this video, I'll talk about probably something really important that you need to understand about the voting, the differences between voting online versus voting through the phone. So we'll get into that. Proposal 2, to elect our board of directors the following nominees for terms expiring on 2024 annuals meeting: Mr. Philip Latter, and I apologize if I mess up any of these names, Mr. Gary F. Locke, and Mr. Adam J. Sussman. Okay, so let's talk about these individuals. Mr. Latter, Mr. Locke, and Mr. Sussman are Class 1 directors currently. Okay, so they've already been sitting on the board. Their terms will expire at 2021 annual meeting of stockholders. So that should have happened back in April when we were supposed to have the previous meeting, or March, whenever it was, but it has been since extended. And also do realize that we've also had 2 board members since this proxy that have stepped down that were previous Wanda elected board members. And Adam Aaron took the head of the board, the director of the board position. But anyways, with these 3 gentlemen, their terms will expire. Okay, so what have they done for the shareholders as of recently in good faith? Let's look at that, because you know, it's important to understand that you know, as a shareholder, sorry, as a board member, you get shares. AMC board members. This is just a link, and I want everybody to be. This is fact. This may be a little misleading. So I want you to understand that this is kind of a mixture of my opinion and fact mixed together. But it says 5 directors sold less than half their AMC shares, and now they each still own 17,722 shares. And now it's not, MarketWatch is not going to let me read the rest of this. But basically, I'll go ahead and pull up. That's okay. I can show it on Ortex. You can actually go into a spot in here under Insiders on AMC, and you can look. Lo and behold, the last person to have sold this was not actually, I don't believe that this person is a board holder. They may be, but it's the chief marketing officer. Sold some shares back here. But the three individuals that we're talking about are Gary F. Locke, Philip Latter, and Adam J. Sussman. Those are the three individuals, and they all sold shares back in June, early June. Okay, they sold percentages. It says down here, and I actually break it down, so we'll go into it. But I do want to identify the fact that each one of these gentlemen, and some of them twice, I believe it was Gary Locke, sold twice in June. But we'll get into that, and I'll tell you why I think that's kind of important. But we'll, again, that's opinion. We'll get into that here. So, who is Philip Latter? Let's talk about him first. He's first on the list. I'll go ahead and pull up the wiki page. I did verify these gentlemen are the indeed gentlemen that are on there. Philip Latter got a tremendous background. He worked for Bill Clinton and George Bush. I would say probably just Bill Clinton. Typically speaking, February of 2001 would have been when George Bush took over, so he probably was just he was in office as George Bush was taking over, and then George Bush probably put in new people, and that's when he lost his position. But he worked as a United States ambassador to the United Kingdom. That's pretty prestigious. Yeah, I mean, he has. If you want to go through his record, it is quite the record. I'm telling you, he's been all over the place. Mr. Latter is 75 years old and has an extremely long list of accomplishments to his resume. We'll just go to the org. And we'll look at him on that ladder. I do believe that this was one of the best places that I found that talked about him. Ambassador Latter is a senior advisor to Morgan Stanley Institutional Securities, as well as a former U.S. ambassador to the Court of St. James and chairman of WPP PLC, including whatever. Served under President Clinton as administrator of the U.S. Small Business Administration, White House Deputy Chief of Staff, Assistant to the President, and Deputy Director of the Office of Management and Budget. Previously, he was Executive Vice President of Sir James Goldsmiths U.S. Holdings and President of Sea Pines Company, universities in South Carolina and Australia, and Business Executive for National Security. This guy has a lot of long-time experience. A lot of long-time experience. I mean, you can just go through and you can read it, and you can tell that this guy's been around the block. He knows people. He's probably one of the three people that I looked at. He's probably got the most prestigious credentials of them all. So having looked at that, let me continue on. On 6/14 of 21, Mr. Latter sold 14,025 shares for the first time since being awarded shares for $49.54 a share, for a total of $705,686,000. Mr. Latter was first awarded shares on 7/9 of 2019. So he's held shares since 2019 all the way up until June of this year, and decided to go ahead and dump 14.25 thousand shares. But anyways, he has a Morgan Stanley. He has a relationship with Morgan Stanley, where he is on the board of directors, I believe. Let me just pull that up. I have a Fintel link. Let me see if that pops up here. Oh, it's not wanting. It's showing the Morgan Stanley. Oh, this is the point that I wanted to make. Morgan Stanley has a pretty big. What's the word I'm looking for? They own quite a bit of shares. Seeing as how he has a relationship with Morgan Stanley, and they do hold a large amount of shares in Morgan Stanley, that's something to consider. It's good to have somebody on your board who has connections with your institutional investors. So, anyways, that's who Mr. Philip Ladder is, and I will talk about my opinions. There's two types of individuals that I think should be brought to the board. Those who can bring fresh ideas moving forward that will help to revitalize AMC and make it relevant to our current times. And the other type of persons will have the connections and power that will help AMC to make links to funding and strong institutional buyers. Mr. Ladder, he fits the bill for one of these marks, with the two other board members leaving. That will give Adam Aaron the ability to fill the board with people who can best help him find the correct path into AMC's future. I'm not happy with any of the three board members due to the fact that they paper handed away shares, all three of them, and surely they understand the message it must be delivering with an impending squeeze at hand. If it weren't for Mr. Ladder's connections, I would be voting to abstain. And then as I was writing this, I said, scratch that. I'm going to abstain. I will be abstaining from a vote for Mr. Ladder, but that's simply because I believe that you shouldn't be selling AMC shares right now. Now, there's plenty of people out there who can say, I think that, they should be, that's up to them. That's up to them when they sell their shares. It is. It is completely up to them when they sell their shares. But I'm having a difficult time standing behind board members who are selling their shares at such critical times. I think that there's plenty of time after a squeeze that they could be selling their shares, and they probably could be selling them for a larger amount of money than what they're selling them for now. I think Adam Aaron can find board members who believe in the company and have the same type of background that Mr. Ladder has. Maybe not quite the same, but I think he could probably find people out there who would help serve on the board. Moving on to Gary F. Locke. Go ahead and pull up his wiki. He has his own wiki site as well. This is Mr. Gary Locke. Mr. Locke is 71 years old and has a very prestigious political background as well. I'll pull him up on the org here in just a second. But Mr. Locke also sold shares twice in June of this year. So not just once, but twice in the beginning of June. He sold shares for the very first time since being awarded shares back in 2/24 of 2016. So he's had shares issued to him throughout between 2016 until now, and he just now started selling shares in June. Many people will be like, "Oh, but the price was up in June." Okay, all right. From his sales, he sold 36,136 shares for an average price of $50.25 a share, totaling $1.81 million. I have the Fintel information that shows that. It's included in my Reddit post. I don't feel a need to really show that. I've done the DD. It's in the Reddit post. If you really want to see it, it's there. But let's look at his background real quick here. And this is just using the org. So he served as the director of the company. Let's see, what company is that? Has served as the director of the company since February 2016. Mr. Locke is currently a trade consultant and owner of Locke Global Strategies LLC since 2014. Mr. Locke was the first Chinese American to be elected as U.S. governor when the voters of Washington elected him in 1996 and re-elected him in 2000. During his administration, he strengthened economic ties between China and Washington State. Mr. Locke then served as U.S. Commerce Secretary from 2009 to 2011, where he led the effort to implement President Obama's National Export Initiative to double American exports in 5 years. He then became America's 10th ambassador to China, serving from 2011 to 2014, and during his service he opened markets for made-in-USA goods and services and reduced wait times for visa interviews for Chinese applicants from 100 days to 3 days. Mr. Locke is a member of the board of directors of, looks like Fortinet Incorporated. He attended Yale University, graduating with a bachelor degree in political science, and received his law degree from Boston University. Mr. Locke brings to the board a global and valuable business perspective due to his extensive role in politics and experience as ambassador to China. So, what is Mr. Locke's key part to the board? And when I asked myself that question, I said, okay, and again, this is the opinion portion. Mr. Locke may have excellent ties with China. China is no longer invested in AMC through Wanda LLC. So if you'll remember, the previous owners, Wanda, which was a Chinese investment firm, no longer has ties, and their two board directors just stepped down. So we have broken off our ties with Wanda, and I can tell you right now, having worked in companies or with companies who have done dealings with China, if they don't want to do business with you anymore and they've exited, then they no longer have a use for you. If they no longer have a use for you, they don't have any reason to be a part of you. They've sold off their shares. They no longer have board of directors. Mr. Locke is our only tie now between us and China. So the question is, or I'll just continue, and that does not fare well with AMC's ability to further a stronghold in the Chinese market. So if AMC's objective moving forward with Mr. Locke as a board member is to move into the Chinese market, AMC will struggle to accomplish this just because of the fact that they've moved away from the company. As such, the need for somebody on the board with China's contacts does not further AMC's future plans to keep the company afloat in its current markets. With Mr. Locke's multiple sales of the company's shares and China's move to no longer be invested in this company, as seen with the multiple sell-offs of the company's shares and board directors stepping down, I think Mr. Locke's board member seat would be best given to somebody who has immediate potential for helping the company moving forward. I also abstained from voting for Mr. Locke. Again, vote how you choose. Adam J. Sussman. There is no wiki page for Adam J. Sussman. Mr. Sussman is 49 years old and he has a vast history with working with big companies. If you you can actually pull LinkedIn on him, but I want to point out that probably one of his most beneficial to our board past history on his account is probably the fact that he worked with Disney. He's had some time with some big name companies. And let's just see what the org says about him right now. The org is saying Mr. Sussman was appointed as Nike's Incorporated's first ever chief digital officer, was previously head of Nike's global strategy and corporate development, and currently serves as the VP GM Direct Digital and Geographies. He has been responsible for the building of Nike's portfolio of world-class digital consumer experiences and innovations and transforming retail for the world's leading sports brands. He currently manages Nike's digital terms globally and Nike's direct-to-consumer GMs across the 4 key operating geographies of the company. Oh, excuse me. My goodness, the water went down the wrong tube. Let's see. Does it talk about Disney? Where is it talking about Disney? He also served as senior vice president of publishing at Disney, building the global team that managed gaming properties across all media platforms around the world. I think that is huge. If there's anybody of these 3 guys that probably would be the best for AMC going forward, it would be him. At Electronic Arts, he was vice president of worldwide publishing. This guy knows about gaming, and I think a lot of people want to see like a lot of different gaming sports coming to the movie theaters. I know that's definitely something that we've been talking about, and Adam J. Sussman would be probably ideal for being able to move some kind of ventures like that forward, or he would have the contacts, and that would be beneficial to us. Mr. Sussman sold shares for the first time on 6/9/2021, since having been awarded shares of the company back in 5/16 of 2019. So I think since being issued shares, I think he's the newest of the 3 board members. But he has held on to shares from 5/16 all the way up until June of this year, and then sold 13,677 shares at $52.19 a share for a total of $713,803. My opinion is I think it's fair to say that moving forward, Mr. Sussman, while having the least prestigious political career, has the best record for working with companies that would help to benefit AMC long term, aka Disney. If it weren't for his sales of shares last month, I would be inclined to vote in favor of Mr. Sussman to be on the board. But again, I'm having a problem. I'm having a problem with the idea that these gentlemen all decided to start dumping their shares in June, especially when they've held them for so long. I don't think the company was hurting all that terribly bad in the beginning of 2019. although Mr. Sussman did. This would actually, I think for Mr. Sussman, this would be the first time that he's seen, actually any of them has seen prices this high. So take it for what it's worth. I'm having a problem with it. Doesn't mean you have to have a problem with it. Moving on to Proposal 3. To ratify the appointment of Ernst & Young LLP as our independent registered public accounting firm of 2021. Let me just make sure I don't have any. Okay, I don't have any questions yet. Who is EY LLP, and what do they have to offer AMC? So when I refer to EY, that's Ernst & Young LLP. They're the accountants for AMC currently, and they have been for a while. I wrote up a big piece on this back in early April when we were talking about all these proposals the first time that the votes were going around. And so I simply copy and pasted what I had from previously, just because I really didn't feel like there was a whole lot of digging into this that needed to be done. I had already done it. But it took me 10 to 15 minutes of searching back in April to save some time just to read. You have to read the article that I'm going to show up here for yourself about Ernst & Young LLC and make your own conclusions. Do you think it sounds like a company that you want handling your accounting? They seem to let things kind of fall through the cracks lately, and so from my opinion, I would not vote for them to be our technical, or I think appointed as our primary accounting firm. Now I realize that they're already doing our accounting. I looked it up. An against vote will not change this fact. The fact that you vote against them being our primary source for accounting doesn't change the fact that they're going to continue doing our accounting. Not by any means that I can tell. However, I think that an against vote would certainly send a signal to our executives and the board members that they need better DD and who they have monitoring their financials. We're at a crucial pivot point for AMC. Hiring bad accounting firms is a huge mistake and could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. It certainly did for other companies in this article. So the article that I'm referring to, it was published by the Wall Street Journal, and I have a difficult time pulling up theirs, obviously, because they want you to have a subscription. So I've pulled it up elsewhere. It's basically the same exact wording, just they have more of the article listed in there. So string of firms that imploded have something in common. Ernst & Young audited them. So this article was written up in 2020. So it is a little bit old. It says this year $2 billion is missing at a German fintech company. $300 million of the sales has been found to be fabricated at a Chinese coffee chain, and $5 billion in undisclosed debt has been uncovered at two related companies listed in the UK together. In the UK. Together, the incidents cost shareholders of the companies roughly $30 billion. Now, imagine for a second that we were to be one of those companies and something happened where we had, I mean, even just $2 billion disappear. That would be a lot of money, and it would be a big problem, and it would be huge. It would be huge for the company and terrible. All had been audited by Ernst & Young. Last year, EY also audited office space company WeWork, which nearly collapsed after fumbling a planned initial public offering. EY is one of the big four accounting firms, so they're huge. They're absolutely huge. Amazon uses them. I'm trying to think of some of the other names that I saw. There's some massive companies that use EY, and so I'm not really trying to say because they do it we can too, but I'll get into why I think that we're using them as a company. But anyways, EY is one of the big four accounting firms whose audits are meant to give investors confidence in companies' figures. EY missed red flags or failed to aggressively pursue them at some of the companies ahead of their scandals. And for the most part, it was outsiders who raised questions first. A review based on public available documents and interviews with people close to the events shows now regulators are scrutinizing EY's work. The EY audit clients that faced financial issues were German payment processor, and then it showed why you probably heard of the Wirecard debacle. I know I've heard that about that in the on the internet. So this is the key part right here. Lower fees. EY charges lower fees for audits, which are labor intensive and time consuming, than other big firms in the U.S. and Europe on average on analysis of data from research from audit analytics shows. So let me tell you why I think and this is opinion. This is not facts. AMC is likely using EY due to the fact that they used to be a very reputable accounting firm, but due to some of the more recent blunders in accounting, their pricing for their services has dropped. So, um, in some instances, I found that once EY was entrenched in the accounting services for a company, they sometimes managed to get it. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me start this over. In some instances, I found that once EY was entrenched as the accounting services for a company, they sometimes managed to get a connected representative onto the board of directors. So I did find that. I went back and I was trying to find that same information before. I had done a lot of digging before, but I kind of ran out of time and wasn't able to pick that up, but I had seen that. So I'm not sure if that's standard operating procedures for accounting firms, but I certainly don't want this to happen in the case with EY. I think that having an accounting agent from EY being on our board of directors eventually, since we now have 2 open spots, could be a bad thing. So I don't know that I necessarily want to approve them as being our main source of accounting. I think we should be open to looking at other firms. Um, I don't see the need to ratify EY as the main accounting firm for AMC. There doesn't seem to be any value added benefit to it. In a fair market, getting companies to compete for your business is always to your advantage, and committing to EY just seems like it takes away from AMC's ability to have that leverage. Yeah, so I mean that's what it stems to for me. Do your own research on that. As an example, like all you have to do, right, is come in here and put in like EY problems, right? And just look up what's happening and just go to like news, EY problems. Ernst& Young, so the very first thing, 4 weeks ago, Ernst& Young, LLP in the United Way of Western Connecticut. Let's see. We could probably, I think yesterday when I had looked this up, oh, here we go. October 16, 2020. This is the article in question that I had actually pulled from originally. Let's see if we can find something more. I saw something that was real recent. I think it was on page 2 of my search. And I'm not seeing it now. But search out EY. Look and see what they are as a company. See if that's something that you want to ratify as being them being our sole accountants. I think personally that that's maybe a mistake. Now, whether or not we get more of a discount for a company for using them or ratifying them, I mean, I don't know if that's the case. It was never actually. There was nothing inside of any of the documentation in the proxy that would lead me to believe that we got some kind of kickbacks for making them our dedicated um, or discounts maybe as making them our dedicated accountants. Okay, moving on to proposal 4. To conduct a non-binding advisory vote to approve the compensation of named executive officers. So, I have a big caveat here. I wrote up a big, huge thing on this. I'm going to start with my opinion on this one first. And then I'm just going to post something up there, and then you guys can make your own decision on this. I don't feel that my opinion is healthy enough to support our community standards. I'll say that I don't feel that now. I don't feel that now is a good time to support this proposal. And I'm just going to leave it at that. But what I am going to do is I'm going to post up on here for you to see. This is in the proxy. You can pull this out yourself. Let's see what page it's on. 53. On page 53, it names some of those executives' compensations, right? And it shows you for the years what they were making and what they're currently getting in 2020. I mean, look at those numbers. Just look at those numbers right there and ask yourself, does that seem appropriate, or do you think that more should be awarded? I do know that in I believe it was early of this year, January, December or January, they had awarded themselves bonuses. There was a big, huge media on it, and they tried to create all kinds of FUD about it. That was definitely one of the things that hit us in FUD in February, I believe. They tried to re-hit us with the FUD later on, trying to make it like it was brand new news, and it was super old news. But they did award themselves some bonuses. More recently, I think that they went ahead and approved the shares that they had asked for the bonus program, and we approved it, and they went ahead and decided to sell those for money for the company. Um, you know, I don't know. Take a look at these numbers. You need to understand that these numbers, what they mean to you, and whether or not they mean that the company is making. Are they making enough, or do they need more? I think that's what you should decide for your own. Okay, we're actually flying through these proposals really quick. Proposal 5 is to approve the adjournment of the annual meeting to a later date or dates, if necessary or appropriate, to solicit additional proxies if there are insufficient votes to adopt the proposals. My opinion, I voted yes for this last time before the meeting was adjourned to a later date. I'm going to vote yes on this again. I want to be able to change my mind on these issues because for the most part I'm abstaining from everything except for this one. I want to be able to change my mind. I want to be able to feel differently about some of my decisions that I'm making, and I think that this is a great proposal to have to push this on down the road. Um, so I'm even willing to vote yes on some of these issues later on after a squeeze. More than anything, we need the ability to change our minds as things develop. If I feel the sole reasoning for pushing this adjournment of the meeting down the road is simply to change minds before a squeeze, then I'm going to start voting no for this. So, we've already had, what, 3 times now? We had once, and then they delayed it the second time, and now here we are with the actual second vote now. So they've pushed us down the road twice. If I feel like they're doing this just to try and get different votes, then I might not approve this again in the future. So I would hope that if they do move it down further down the road, that it's far enough down the road that I can change my mind, or that things will have transpired, aka squeeze, that will change my mind. But for now, I want options, so this is a yes for me. I'm voting yes to Proposal 5. I'm going to approve it. What do I want to see? This is important. This is important to me. Um, and I'm just going to throw it out there. Adam Aaron needs to figure out a way to get a share recall to happen. That's something that I want to see. This should be his first objective, and to the ape retail investors moving forward, counts of how many apes are invested will not help the movement for a squeeze. AMC will be just fine after the squeeze is over, as apes have overwhelmingly stated that they would not be leaving AMC in an at-risk position. I think Adam is beginning to trust in this, and I think beyond taking additional shares off the table, he needs to get a share recall in place. There's several ways to accomplish this, and I think that we need to start getting that process started. Um, so, having said that, how do you vote? This is important. You guys may be coming here to watch this, so you can see how do you vote. The SEC so this is straight out of their proxy. The SEC adopted rules that permit the companies and intermediaries, brokers, to satisfy and deliver requirements for proxy statements and annual reports with respect to 2 or more stockholders sharing the same address by delivering a proxy statement addressed to those stockholders. This process, which is commonly referred to as householding, potentially means extra convenience for stockholders and cost savings for companies. So my wife and I are both apes. She has her own shares, and I have my own shares. I have not seen 2 different proxies per household. But I do know that she has not voted yet. So we need to take a look at that and see if they've lumped them all together for us. But I have not seen that. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind if you have multiple people in your household who has shares. Think about that. I'm I'm going to skip through most of this other stuff that's right here. If you have any questions regarding the proxy statement, you may contact DF King and Company Incorporated or proxy solicitor toll free at 1-800-249-7120. Now, you may be getting phone calls from that phone number asking you to vote. Just remember that 7120 is they're calling you to get your votes. For registered stockholders with questions about their AMC shares or a need to change a mailing address, please contact our transfer agent by writing to. That's going to take too long if you write to them, especially with this video coming out now. But you can also contact their transfer agent via email at computershare.com or by telephone at 1-800-962. You know what? I got to put this in red. I can't believe I don't have this in red. 1-800-962-4284. Ask how many shares you have available to vote for. If you do call, ask that question. Make sure that it matches what it is that you actually have. I think that's very important. I don't know that everybody does that. And I did ask, and they matched up the way they were supposed to. You can vote over the phone or online through your broker, and you should have had an email sent out to you that will lead you to your voting. Some of them give you a proxy ID number. You can use that to vote through. I believe there's a website. Let me check it out real quick here. I think last time I looked at this, there was a way to use an actual proxy server to go into to look at if you had your proxy number and you could see what your votes were set up for. Let me see. I'm not finding that right now. What I will do is if I find that later, I will post that and edit it to my Reddit post so you can find that. However, be careful. Be very, very, very careful. And I just want to explain to you why you need to be careful. When I voted last time, I did it online through my broker, but then later decided I was going to change some of my votes. I received a phone call from the proxy solicitor at that 7120 phone number, and I figured I'd just change it over the phone since I hadn't actually done it online. So I went ahead and changed it over the phone with them. And then later, a couple days before the vote deadline, I received documentation in the mail telling me that my votes had been changed. The problem was all of my votes had been changed to yes votes. Every single one of them. That was not what I said over the phone. That kind of upset me a little bit, and I didn't like that whole phone process. I'm not saying don't use it. I'm just saying that it's getting close to the deadline, and if you're going to do it over the phone, verify, double check everything. This is not what I said over the phone, so I went back to my broker online link and I verified and I changed my votes back to what I wanted online. So just make sure. I would personally, the night before, maybe before you go to bed on Wednesday night, go online and check it and verify it and make sure that your votes are still set up the way that you wanted your votes to be. Even if you've already voted well in advance and you didn't have any changes to your votes whatsoever, go back and check. Absolutely go back and check. It might be worth verifying that night, you know. Who knows? Maybe something changed and you don't want that to be the case. Anyways, I really appreciate you guys coming to spend some time with me to talk about these proposals that are extremely important. You guys are the best, and happy voting to you. And I'll see you guys another time.